We often think we understand a civilization by looking at its heart. We journey to its great cities, stand before its grandest monuments, and read the stories of its most powerful rulers. But what if the true measure of a society is found not at its center, but at its edges? I've always been fascinated by frontiers, those liminal spaces where one world meets another. In Egypt, this idea is more powerful than anywhere else on Earth. To truly grasp the genius of this ancient culture, we must travel beyond the familiar comfort of the Nile Valley. We must venture to the vast, silent deserts, the rugged mountains, and the endless sea that frame this incredible land, for it is here on the very edge of existence that the Egyptian soul was truly forged. Our journey begins not with the golden masks of pharaohs or the shadows of the Great Pyramids, but with the raw, elemental power of Egypt's natural borders. Imagine the Great Sand Sea, an ocean of dunes stretching to the horizon, its waves frozen in time, sculpted by an eternal wind. Picture the jagged peaks of the Sinai Peninsula, mountains of granite and sandstone that blush pink and purple at dawn and dusk, a place of profound solitude and spiritual awakening. And then there is the shimmering turquoise coastline of the Mediterranean, a shore that has witnessed the arrival of armies, traders, and philosophers, connecting Egypt to a world far beyond its own. These are not just empty spaces, they are the crucibles of culture. These dramatic landscapes were the canvas upon which the ancient Egyptians painted their story. The desert was not merely an obstacle, it was the realm of the afterlife, a place of transformation and rebirth. The sea was not just a boundary, it was a gateway for new ideas, new goods, and new people who would forever change the course of Egyptian history. The southern cataracts of the Nile were not simply a geographical feature, they were the dividing line between the known world of Egypt and the mysterious, powerful kingdoms of Nubia. Each frontier presented a challenge, a threat, and an opportunity that shaped the very way Egyptians thought about life, death, and their place in the cosmos. To understand Egypt, we must understand its duality. It is a civilization built on the knife edge between abundance and scarcity, between order and chaos, between the vibrant green of the riverbank and the stark, silent emptiness of the desert. This constant tension is the secret to its endurance and its incredible creativity. In this journey to the edges, we will explore how these frontiers gave rise to spectacular temples, epic stories, and a unique worldview that continues to captivate us thousands of years later. We will leave the crowded tourist sites behind and listen to the whispers of the wind in the desert, the echoes of history in remote oases, and the timeless rhythm of the waves on Egypt's ancient shores. Our first stop is the south, at the sun-drenched city of Aswan. For millennia, this was Egypt's southern gate, a place where the fertile Nile Valley began to narrow, and the river's gentle flow was interrupted by the dramatic granite boulders of the First Cataract. This was more than just a change in scenery. It was the border between Egypt and the lands beyond, the powerful kingdom of Nubia. Standing here, you can feel the shift in the air. The rhythm of life is slower, more connected to the river and the African continent that stretches out to the south. Aswan has always been a meeting point, a place of exchange, not just of goods, but of cultures, armies, and ideas. It is a frontier that has always been alive with energy and tension. The Nile here is different from the wide, placid river of the north. It is dotted with islands, each with its own story. Elephantine Island was the cult center of Khnum, the ram-headed god who was believed to fashion human beings on his potter's wheel from the clay of the Nile. Just across the water, the tombs of the nobles are carved high into the cliffs of the West Bank, their occupants tasked with leading expeditions deep into Africa. These men were the pharaohs' eyes and ears on the frontier, tasked with securing trade routes for exotic goods like ivory, ebony, gold, and incense. Their inscriptions tell tales of diplomacy, danger, and discovery, painting a vivid picture of life on the edge of the Egyptian world. This southern border was never a simple, static line. It was a fluid, dynamic zone of interaction.
We tend to think of ancient borders as walls, but the Egyptian-Nubian frontier was more like a porous membrane. Power shifted back and forth. At times, Egypt pushed south, building massive fortresses to control trade and resources. At other times, powerful Nubian kings ruled over Egypt itself, becoming pharaohs and adopting Egyptian customs while retaining their own distinct identity. It was a constant dance of influence and resistance, creating a rich, hybrid culture unique to this region.
This fusion is visible everywhere, from the art to the architecture. The temples here reflect this unique position. The magnificent temple of Isis at Philae, rescued from the rising waters of the Aswan High Dam, feels like a jewel set upon the water. It was one of the last pagan temples to remain active in the ancient world, a testament to the enduring power of Egyptian beliefs on this remote frontier. Further south, the colossal rock-cut temples of Abu Simbel, built by Ramesses the Great, are a breathtaking statement of pharaonic power, designed to awe and intimidate anyone approaching Egypt from the south. They are a declaration carved in stone. This is where Egypt begins, and this is the might of its king. Life on the southern border was shaped by the constant presence of two powerful forces, the river and the kingdom of Nubia. The people who lived here were navigators, soldiers, merchants, and stonemasons. They knew the treacherous currents of the cataracts and the secret paths through the desert. They were Egypt's first line of defense and its primary link to the riches of Africa. The massive quarries of Aswan provided the beautiful pink granite used to build temples, statues, and obelisks throughout Egypt. You can still see the unfinished obelisk, a gigantic monument lying in its quarry, cracked before it could be completed, a silent testament to the incredible ambition and skill of the ancient workers who toiled under the fierce southern sun. The relationship with the Nubians was complex and ever-changing, a mixture of trade, conflict, and cultural borrowing. For centuries, Egypt saw Nubia as a source of immense wealth, particularly gold, which was considered the flesh of the gods. Expeditions and military campaigns were launched to control the gold mines and the trade routes that ran through Nubian territory. Yet, this was not a one-sided affair. Nubian culture was strong and vibrant, with its own language, traditions, and powerful rulers. Nubian archers were highly sought after as mercenaries in the Egyptian army, famed for their skill and bravery. They were both a feared enemy and a valued ally. This intricate dance of cultures is beautifully preserved in the art and artifacts of the region. In the Nubian Museum in Aswan, you can see statues of pharaohs depicted with distinctly Nubian features, a clear sign of the period when Nubian kings from the Kingdom of Kush conquered and ruled Egypt as the 25th dynasty. They did not destroy Egyptian culture, they embraced it, presenting themselves as true pharaohs, restorers of traditional religious values. This period shows how the frontier was not just a place of separation, but also a place of fusion, where identities could merge and create something entirely new and powerful. Even today, the legacy of this ancient connection is alive. The modern Nubian people of Aswan have a culture that is distinct from the rest of Egypt, with their own language, colorful houses, and strong community traditions. They are proud guardians of this ancient heritage, their stories and songs echoing the long history of their ancestors who lived along this great river border.
The Nile connects us. My grandfather told me stories his grandfather told him, of the time when there was no border, only the river. For us, the river is life, and our family is on both sides of it. The history is in our blood, in the water.
From the vibrant life of the southern river, we turn west into a completely different world, the vast and silent western desert. This is a landscape that defies easy description. It is an immense expanse of rock, sand, and sky that seems to stretch into infinity. To the ancient Egyptians, the West was intrinsically linked with the setting sun, and therefore with death and the afterlife. It was the direction of the Duat, the underworld through which the sun god Ra journeyed each night to be reborn at dawn. This desert was not an empty wasteland. It was a sacred landscape, the physical manifestation of the spiritual world, a place of endings and new beginnings. Our journey takes us into the White Desert, a surreal and otherworldly place. Here, millennia of wind erosion have sculpted the chalky limestone into bizarre and beautiful shapes that rise from the desert floor, like giant mushrooms, birds, and abstract sculptures. Camping here under a canopy of stars far from any city lights is a profoundly moving experience. The silence is absolute, broken only by the whisper of the wind. It's easy to understand why the ancient Egyptians saw this as a place of magic and mystery, a threshold between the world of the living and the realm of the gods. It feels like a landscape dreamed into existence. This association with the afterlife made the Western Desert the ideal location for tombs. From the earliest mastabas to the grand pyramids of Giza and the hidden tombs in the Valley of the Kings, the west bank of the Nile was Egypt's necropolis, its city of the dead. It was believed that by burying the dead in the west, their souls could join the sun god on his nightly journey and be reborn with him each morning. The desert was seen as a protective barrier, its arid climate preserving the body's tombs and treasures, meant for the eternal life of the deceased. The desert was not a place of loss, but a vessel for eternity. This landscape holds memories.
The desert does not forget. Every footprint, every path, every stone has a story. My father taught me to read the landscape like a book. He said the spirits of the ancient travelers are still here. At night, when the wind blows, you can sometimes hear them whispering. This is not an empty place. It is full of life. But it is a life you must be quiet enough to see and hear. For us, the desert is a mother. She is harsh, but she protects those who respect her.
Deep within the Western Desert, hundreds of kilometers from the Nile, lies a place that was, for centuries, a subject of myth and legend, the Siwa Oasis. Surrounded by the immense Great Sand Sea, Siwa is an island of green in an ocean of sand, a lush paradise of palm groves, olive trees, and shimmering salt lakes. For ancient travelers who had endured the perilous desert crossing, arriving in Siwa must have felt like stepping into another world. But Siwa's fame came not just from its beauty, but from its role as the home of one of the most respected oracles of the ancient world, the Oracle of Amun. The Temple of the Oracle, perched on the Acropolis of Agurmi, drew pilgrims from across the ancient world. Kings and commoners alike made the dangerous journey to ask questions of the god. The god's answers were delivered by priests who interpreted signs such as the movement of a sacred bark or other divine signals. The oracle's most famous visitor was Alexander the Great. In 331 BC, after conquering Egypt, he made the arduous trek to Siwa. The details of his visit are shrouded in mystery, but ancient sources say the high priest greeted him as the son of Amun. This divine confirmation legitimized his rule over Egypt and profoundly shaped his destiny and his image of himself. Visiting the ruins of the temple today, you can still feel a powerful sense of place. The view from the top of Agurmi is breathtaking, looking out over the sea of green palm trees. It is a place that feels disconnected from time, where the echoes of ancient prophecies seem to hang in the air. Nearby, the Mountain of the Dead, or Gebel al-Mauta, is another reminder of Siwa's ancient past. This hill is honeycombed with rock-cut tombs from the 26th dynasty and the Greco-Roman period, their walls decorated with a unique blend of Egyptian and Greek artistic styles, reflecting Siwa's position as a cultural crossroads in the heart of the desert. The unique culture of Siwa has been preserved by its isolation. The people of Siwa, the Siwans, are of Amazigh or Berber origin and speak their own language, Siwi. Their traditions, crafts, and social customs are distinct from those of the Nile Valley.
A local artisan, Fatima, weaving a colorful basket, shares her thoughts. Our life is the oasis. Everything comes from the date palms and the salt. Our stories are not the same as those in Cairo or Luxor. They are the stories of the desert, of the water that comes from the ground, and of the spirits that protect this place. We are Egyptians, but we are Siwan first. Our history is written in the sand and in the shade of these palms.
From the deep desert, our journey now takes us to a completely different frontier, the northern coast, where Egypt meets the vast expanse of the Mediterranean Sea. This was Egypt's great gateway to the wider world, a place of commerce, intellectual exchange, and conquest.
And at the heart of this coastal frontier stands a city that was once the intellectual capital of the world, Alexandria. Founded by Alexander the Great, this city was designed from the outset to be a bridge between Egypt and the Hellenistic world. It was a cosmopolitan metropolis, home to Egyptians, Greeks, Jews, and people from all over the Mediterranean. Alexandria's spirit was embodied by its two most famous institutions, the Great Library and the Pharaohs, or Lighthouse. The Pharaohs was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, a towering beacon of light that guided ships safely into the city's harbor. It was a symbol of Alexandria's dominance in maritime trade and its welcoming embrace to travelers from across the sea. It represented innovation and engineering prowess, a statement that this city was a center of the modern world. Its light was a promise of knowledge, safety, and opportunity, drawing people and ideas towards it like a magnet. Even more significant was the Great Library of Alexandria. It was more than just a collection of scrolls. It was a revolutionary idea. The Ptolemaic rulers who succeeded Alexander aimed to collect all the knowledge of the world under one roof. Scholars from across the known world were invited to Alexandria to study, translate, debate, and write. It was here that the Hebrew Bible was first translated into Greek. It was here that Euclid wrote his Elements of Geometry, and Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the Earth with astounding accuracy. The library turned Egypt's northern frontier into the world's most important hub for science, philosophy, and literature. Though the ancient library and pharaohs are long gone, the spirit of Alexandria endures. The modern Bibliotheca Alexandrina is a stunning piece of architecture that pays homage to its ancient predecessor, seeking to recapture the city's role as a center for dialogue and learning. Walking along the Corniche, the city's seaside promenade, you can still feel its cosmopolitan history. Unlike the ancient cities of the Nile, Alexandria looks outwards, towards the sea. Dr. Karim Al-Masri, a historian at Alexandria University, notes, Alexandria forced Egypt to look in a new direction. For millennia, Egypt's focus was south, up the Nile. Alexandria turned its face north, to Europe and the wider Mediterranean. It opened Egypt to new influences that would change it forever, making it a key player in the Roman and later the Islamic world.
Turning east, we encounter yet another of Egypt's formidable frontiers, the rugged, mountainous Sinai Peninsula and the long coastline of the Red Sea. The Sinai is a land of stark, majestic beauty, a triangular wedge of desert and granite peaks that separates Africa from Asia. This has always been a strategic land bridge, a path for armies, nomads, and pilgrims. For the ancient pharaohs, it was a vital source of valuable minerals, particularly turquoise and copper, which were mined at sites like Serabit el-Khadim, where a unique temple to the goddess Hathor still stands, a testament to the thousands of workers who toiled in this harsh landscape. The Sinai is also a land of profound spiritual significance, held sacred by Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It is here that Mount Sinai is located, the place where, according to the Bible, Moses received the 10 Commandments. At the foot of this holy mountain lies St. Catherine's Monastery, one of the oldest continuously operating Christian monasteries in the world. Founded in the 6th century AD, its fortified walls have protected a community of monks and an incredible treasure of religious art and manuscripts for over 1,500 years. The monastery is a symbol of faith and endurance, a spiritual oasis in a wilderness of rock and sand.
The Red Sea coast, running parallel to the Nile, acted as another of Egypt's gateways to the wider world. From ports like Qusayr al-Qadim, the pharaohs and later the Romans launched ambitious trading expeditions to the mysterious land of Punt, believed to be somewhere in modern-day Eritrea or Somalia. These missions brought back fabulous riches: incense, myrrh, exotic animals, and aromatic woods. The journey was perilous, involving a difficult trek across the eastern desert from the Nile to the sea, followed by a long sea voyage. But the rewards were great, and the trade route enriched Egypt both economically and culturally. Today, the Red Sea coast is famous for a different kind of treasure: its spectacular coral reefs. This underwater world is a vibrant frontier of life, a dazzling ecosystem teeming with colorful fish and marine creatures. It attracts visitors from all over the globe, continuing the region's long history as a place of international connection. A diving instructor in Hurghada, named Omar, reflects on this connection. People come here for the beauty of the sea, but this sea has always been a road. The same winds that push our sailboats today once pushed the ships of Queen Hatshepsut. The same reefs that we explore were known to Roman traders. This coast has always connected Egypt to the east. It is a frontier that is ancient and new at the same time.
After journeying to the farthest edges of Egypt, south to Nubia, west to the desert oases, north to the Mediterranean, and east to the Sinai, we finally return to the heart of it all, the Nile Valley. And it is here, having seen the vastness of the surrounding landscapes, that we can truly appreciate the fundamental reality of Egyptian civilization.
Flying over the country, you can see it with breathtaking clarity, a thin, vibrant green ribbon of life, sharply defined against the endless, pale expanse of the desert. This stark line is not just a geographical feature, it is the defining principle of the Egyptian worldview. The ancient Egyptians called their country Kemet, the Black Land, referring to the rich, dark silt deposited by the Nile's annual flood. This was the land of life, order, and civilization. Everything beyond it was Deshret, the Red Land, the desert. This was the realm of chaos, danger, and death. Egyptian life was a constant effort to maintain the balance between these two opposing forces, to keep the order of Kemet from being swallowed by the chaos of Deshret. This duality is the key to understanding everything they built and everything they believed. Their world was literally black and white, green and yellow. This sharp boundary is visible everywhere. Drive just a few kilometers from the green fields of the Nile Delta, and the landscape abruptly changes. The lush vegetation ceases, the soil turns to sand, and the silence of the desert takes over. It is a transition that happens not over miles, but in a matter of feet. For ancient farmers, this line was their daily reality. Their survival depended on the Nile's gift of water and silt, and they lived with the constant knowledge that just beyond their fields lay a vast, lifeless nothingness. This proximity to the void shaped their profound focus on life, fertility, and most importantly, eternity. This contrast inspired their greatest achievements. The pyramids, temples, and tombs were built on the edge of the desert, on the threshold between the Black Land and the Red Land. They were machines for eternity, designed to mediate between the world of the living and the world of the gods and the afterlife. They were placed on the West Bank, the land of the setting sun and death, but they overlooked the East Bank, the land of the rising sun and life. The Egyptians did not fear the desert. They embraced it as a necessary part of the cosmic order and used its sterile permanence to ensure their own survival beyond death.
Our journey across the frontiers of Egypt reveals a truth that is often overlooked. The enduring power of this civilization comes not just from the wealth of the Nile, but from its constant negotiation with the vast, challenging landscapes that surrounded it. The deserts, seas, and mountains were not just boundaries. They were sources of inspiration, challenge, and transformation. They provided the materials for Egypt's monuments, the threats that forged its military, the trade routes that brought it wealth, and the spiritual concepts that shaped its soul. The edge was not the end of Egypt. It was the beginning of its story. In the south, the tense but fruitful relationship with Nubia created a dynamic borderland culture and funneled the riches of Africa into the pharaoh's treasury. In the west, the silent, eternal desert provided the perfect canvas for the Egyptians' elaborate vision of the afterlife, becoming a realm of rebirth rather than a place of dread. To the north and east, the seas opened Egypt to the world, turning it from an isolated river valley into a cosmopolitan empire and a hub of global knowledge. Egypt's greatness was not in conquering these frontiers, but in harnessing their power and incorporating them into its own identity. The ancient Egyptians were masters of living on the edge. They built one of the world's most stable and long-lasting civilizations on a razor-thin strip of fertile land, surrounded by what seemed like an infinite void. This precarious existence did not make them timid. It made them bold. It fueled their incredible architectural ambitions, their complex religious beliefs, and their obsession with ensuring that life, order, and memory would triumph over death, chaos, and oblivion. They looked into the vast emptiness of the desert and saw not an end, but a path to eternity. What Egypt teaches us is that civilizations, and perhaps we as individuals, are defined by how we respond to our limits. It is on the frontiers of our knowledge and the edges of our comfort zones that we truly grow. The Egyptians thrived not in spite of their precarious position, but because of it. They built a culture of permanence in a world of constant threat, a civilization of life on the very border of nothingness. And their story, etched in stone on the farthest edges of their world, reminds us that the most profound creations often arise from the greatest of challenges. The true marvel of Egypt is not just what it built, but where it dared to build it.